Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. Now, I know that you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I have a dynamic duo with me today. Bonnie Wingate and Ashley Tappan are here from Insigniam, and I am so thrilled to have them on as my guest experts today. Bonnie and Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always fun to have two guests too, and you truly are a dynamic duo. I want to tell my listening audience a little bit a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into a juicy conversation because you have so many great things that you're doing individually and collectively. So first, Bonnie Wingate is a Philadelphia-based partner with Insigniam, an international management consulting firm, and Ashley Tappan is the constituent founder on developing new client relationships globally at Insigniam, and she also co-founded and leads the Fit to Lead program that helps businesswomen take on doing triathlons as a forum for leadership development. So Ashley and Bonnie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Now, the three of us share something very important in common in that we are all Indiana University alumni, right? So we spent wonderful times during our college years in Bloomington, Indiana. And I would love for you to tell me how the two of you came together, because you didn't know each other on campus. How did the two of you find each other in Philadelphia at your company?
Well, it's interesting. This is Ashley speaking. We did not know that, in fact, each other were both from Indiana, and we happened to both go to Indiana and graduate from Indiana University. But we met through working for this same company, Insigniam. And I asked Bonnie to mentor me how many years ago? Like
about eight years ago
yes.
At this point, right?
I was working inside of Insigniam because I got attracted to the kind of consulting and coaching that they did. It was very inspirational and about unleashing people's passion and performance at work. And I was very interested in that. And I didn't, I graduated with an English degree, an art history degree from IU, but wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But when I saw Bonnie, I saw this high-powered executive collaborating with other high-powered execs, developing and launching ideas, helping people fulfill on their dreams, and like really business-headed. And I said, I want to be like her. So I asked her to mentor me.
I love it. I want to be like her. And that's brilliant. That's how it all started. So Bonnie, what did you think of Ashley when she reached out?
Well, first of all, I was completely flattered. I mean, and somebody, just even hearing this again, I'm inspired. Like, who is that? I'd like to meet that person. So that's that was the first thing. And then Caroline, my passion. So before, this is 21 years that I'm finishing at Insigniam now. And I had another 16-year career before this. And in both situations, it was pretty much a startup when I came to the company. And so my passion has been around opening business, creating relationships, and watching, first of all, a firm grow. And so when Ashley approached me about that, what I got excited about was that she was wanting to get into my passion. So rather than it just being my passion, I now had a collaborator, a conspirator who would help me bring things to life. And then the other kind of game that she and I have been playing is that Ashley she would take over my job. So our firm has a commitment to being around for decades and decades and decades, and really growing and establishing ourselves that way, which of course means having succession planning. And that was the other piece of Ashley's wanting to be mentored, was we said, okay, she's going to take my place.
Wow, that's brilliant. And I love the phrase, get into your passion. That's a tweet if there ever was one. That's good stuff. You know what I find really interesting, ladies? We try so hard, I think, to plan our careers, but sometimes they evolve in different directions. And Bonnie, I'm fascinated that you've been with the firm for so long and are already planning the succession plan, which Ashley is certainly a part of that. What are your thoughts on planning versus letting it happen, or is there a hybrid of both?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a hybrid. I'm a journalism graduate from
Hmm.
IU, and so I never worked in journalism, and I use it every day.
Yeah.
So interviewing, I've had clients ask me, are you actually a journalist who's interviewing me? Because so I really do know that a lot of the training that I got when I was at IU shows up all over the place, right? Um, so I think being ready in that way, but then being open to how things evolve. That's the opportunities that presented themselves were not in journalism. So I think it's a combination of being ready for something. Tom Peters, I think it was, I heard in a conference once say, "You make your own luck."
Hmm.
You know, the people who say they're lucky are people who were ready for something when the opportunity showed up. So it's both being ready like that. And Ashley and I both have talked about we have a passion for performance and excellence as well. And then, as opportunities emerge, you have a chance to respond to it. But Caroline, I will tell you, I have felt like even going all the way back to high school, there were always invitations. So part of I think being ready is there's multiple invitations that show up, and then you get to choose which ones seem to be the best fit.
Beautifully put. There's a famous author and friend of mine by the name of Mary Loverdi, and she is very recognizable from the Oprah Winfrey Show days. And she wrote a beautiful book called The Invitation, and she shares that same premise that throughout our lives there are many knocks on the door, right? And it's your decision about which door you open and which
Yes.
invitation you respond to. So beautifully put. So Ashley, how does it feel for you to be, the succession plan for Bonnie in the future? That must be daunting and exciting and thrilling all in one.
I don't think it feels daunting. It
Okay.
feels like actually a fulfillment
Mm,
of a dream that we share. It's like somebody saying, "I want to be an Olympian," and then you do that. And I do feel like I have fulfilled on becoming the executive that I saw in Bonnie. And I certainly enjoy mentoring and coaching, as you shared about some of my other areas of interest. And I'm really excited just to continue to pay it forward with other women and men who are interested in the kind of things that I'm interested in.
and I love the concept of pay it forward. I think it's clear that the two of you live that and it's palpable and infectious. So I thank you for that. So I'd like to unpack some transferable skills. We all have in common Indiana University, and you both know that I was a music major and did that for a good long time, singing professionally, and now I do something completely different. So would each of you take a stab at helping the audience understand what your IU degree at large empowered you with in regards to skills and experiences and competencies that you use in your career?
Well, I'll start. This is Ashley. One of the things that I think the 4 years that I spent at IU was great at creating a foundation for me to have a career of doing is practicing.
Hmm.
And, it was great that I found things like, my family was always voracious readers. So, I was into reading, and I loved how studying art history and English helped me practice writing in my and expressing my ideas, which I use every day in writing to executives and corresponding with clients and sharing ideas. Uh, but having an opportunity to practice that. And then also with cycling, I cycled at IU.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
I was privileged to cycle in the first women's Little 500, and to be able to launch that idea with other women and share my passion for practicing the sport, day in, day out, whether it was cold or rainy, getting out there and practicing, and practicing your writing and practicing my studying. It gave me a great foundation for practice and to find areas that I love so that I'll love the practicing as much as the performing.
Nicely put.
You can understand that
I can, yeah, because the performance is glorious, but you must, I believe, also enjoy the practice, and that becomes a life skill. Well done. Bonnie, how about you?
Well, the other piece I want to add to the journalism degree is the graphic design minor.
Okay.
So something in both of those areas. In journalism, critical thinking, I just, as you asked that question, I flashed on, a class in law that the journalism majors go through. And I still use this now, is don't provoke questions that you're not going to answer. So when I'm writing something, right, don't leave people with questions that they're not going to be able to get answered. And then the interviewing skills that I mentioned earlier have just being able to do great interviews, to be able to both plan an interview but to be spontaneous, just like you are with us right now. It really does make a difference in, that kind of training and being able to listen in a way that you discover something new in a conversation with somebody. And those skills certainly came out in all the work that I did at IU. And then on the graphic design side, again, I often refer to one class in particular that was around painting, but what we did was we continually painted this ink bottle, and the whole point of it was it's practice again, was to learn the control of one's hand. Rather, it wasn't about what you were putting on the page. It really was about really learning how to put your pen on the paper so that you got the image that you wanted, and the practice of that, and seeing. So how can I look at something and then have it show up on the page that I'm actually drawing or painting on? Because and actually this comes out, Caroline, at Insigniam, that your brain ends up coloring what you see.
Yes.
And so, I can relate that training that I got ever so many years ago to the work that we're doing now here at Insigniam.
I love that. What a great illustration. So, Ashley and Bonnie, here's a bit of a point of departure. I think quite often in my coaching practice, for example, I hear from women who get stuck in a career and they feel like they're bored, or they're in a rut, or their career becomes monotonous. And perhaps they love the organization, but they are tired or unchallenged in the role that they have. So tell me and our audience how you may have reinvented yourself within Insigniam over the years to take on new challenges and keep it fresh and challenging and stimulating.
Well, one way I found so I was into, 6 or 7 years of being in global client development. And one of the things that I had not tapped into significantly was my passion for fitness and leadership, and really the connection that I feel there is there. And I wasn't sure if there would be some opportunity to do that inside of a consulting and coaching firm. And I checked it out, and there wasn't really an appetite for getting into that space literally. And so I really looked for how could I have that interest satisfied besides just going and doing 5Ks or doing triathlons or, like having my own thing. And so I ended up volunteering. And I would actually highly suggest that, one, that's a way to satisfy passions that you can't satisfy. Like Bonnie, you said that journalism didn't present itself. So you found a career where you could do what you do in journalism, but you weren't doing journalism.
Right.
Sometimes our careers can't be, I love ballet, but I'm not going to be a ballerina. I wasn't going to be a world-class triathlete. I just don't have the skill, but I loved doing it. So I found a way to share that passion through volunteering and mentoring other women who might not have ever dreamed something like that was possible, and share that passion and actually give them an opportunity to create this, make this dream a reality. And so I did that. And not only did I end up being able to satisfy a passion without it having to be paid for it, but it drove up new opportunities that I didn't expect to come out of it, like this, or writing blogs on fitness and leadership and things that I hadn't expected would come out of volunteering. So that's one way that I have.
And what I love about that, Ashley, is that you were proactive. You didn't wait for it to happen. You weren't reactive. So thank you for taking the bull by the horns, as it were, and turning volunteering into another nugget, right? Another passion, and creating the Fit to Lead program. Bonnie, how about you? Because you've had this glorious tenure at Insigniam that has spanned a good long time. It must have been really interesting for you to reinvent over the years.
Yeah, it really has been. And I one, I want to endorse volunteering, because I think my entire life I volunteered at something. And it was, as much as it was giving to whatever that organization is, it was also an exploration for me, just like Ashley described, right? But the two other things that I would highlight is have a friend. Or, I've heard somebody once said, you got to have a posse. Everybody needs,
I love it.
And because Ashley and I could do a whole conversation with you about the times we've talked to each other about a topic like this and used each other as a sounding board. Something happens when and I think most people talk to someone else and they're willing to be vulnerable about something like, however they would say it, but I need to reinvent myself, or I feel stale in the position that I have. So in a dialogue with at least one other person that you can really open up to, not have any concern for their judgments or their evaluations of you, something always emerges. It's always something, even if it's a little thread that you can pull on until you actually have something happen. And then I would say to be on a journey to know yourself over a lifetime, because I think that's the Caroline, the source of people getting stale is that they don't actually, for whatever the reason, they have lost sight of what their own passions are or curiosities are, because there's so many different ways to explore that. And often probably people will find out that it could be within a career if they're willing to, take a chance. But I do think this exploration is a big key, both particularly with another human being.
That's fantastic. And I love how you talked about being self-aware and the whole concept of self-actualization. And it's a process, as you both know, right? Your personal and professional values have probably evolved throughout your lives, and they will continue to do so. So let's walk down memory lane a little bit. And I'd love for you to share how work and working has changed during your career thus far.
Go first. Wow. Yeah, well, first of all, I just have more time, right? Because I'm older than Ashley is. So I have more years for this change to have happened. But first of all, I have been a working mom forever. I have two children. My daughter's 31 and my son's 28. And I took off about 6 weeks with each one of them. And other than that, I have been working actually since I was about 13 years old somewhere, for payment.
Yes.
Yeah. And So one way though that so that's part of how that's changed is going from having to, manage all of those demands on a personal basis. I was a single mom, Caroline, when my kids were 7 and 10, and being really resourceful. Finding sick care programs in hospitals, and I had a neighborhood, a village who helped me. Really, I do credit, particularly again, Insigniam has been a support in helping me rear these 2 kids over time and continuing to be, a professional. And I lived in Hong Kong at one point for 10 months, and my kids actually took care of my house, which makes it maybe one of the biggest risks I ever took. But and they did a great job, by the way. So it's definitely evolved over time. But I would say the biggest way has been in the demands that get made of me on a personal basis, and continuing to have those work with my professional life.
Thank you for sharing that. Ashley, how about you?
Oh, let's see. Well, one of the things that I think at the beginning of my career I didn't understand that I now see very clearly is the importance of relationships and cultivating them. And I think that I don't know that I would have gotten that even to today if I hadn't been one in the business of developing relationships. That's my title. And also social media. Social media has really opened up our eyes to the importance of relationships. And I know we say it all the time, but when I now look at how people make decisions about doing business together or getting together, or does this person give me energy or take energy from me? Am I left enlivened after a conversation with them? And being someone who can create that kind of energy with somebody and have a relationship where we actually care about each other's aspirations. And I'm talking about client relationships.
Sure.
Even. I love loving my clients, and I don't think I ever expected I would be at that place, emotionally inside of my work. And so that's a big thing that's changed. That when you think about today's big global world, it really is about personal relationships.
I love that. And the energy concept that you mentioned really resonates with me. You're right. There are 2 kinds of relationships, those that are energizing or energy depleting, right? And we always have a choice. So thank you for sharing that. So, ladies, help me put on your coaching hats for a second, because I know you both coach others and often each other. And let's give you the audience of the new class of IU graduates, right? So these are young men and women who are bright-eyed and ready to take on the professional world by storm. What advice would you give them as they enter the first stages of their careers?
One would be to be seen, to be visible, to do a great job, yes, but really have from the very beginning have a plan, a very conscious plan for meeting the people that are going to make a difference in your career. What I hear oftentimes are reports of often disappointments. People who are really well suited to a job, but they lost out on the opportunity. And it seems like a key reason is often that they weren't known by, whether it's people in their own organization, Caroline, and not being known broadly enough in the organization, or even external, if that happens to be how they're looking for a position. So we train and develop people on the skill or their area of expertise. But this other aspect is one that's often left to be developed on the job. And it should be, but you could also do a whole lot more with knowing to you really get involved with that from the very beginning. And then the second would be to be curious. I heard an executive from one of the pharmaceutical companies at a conference about a month ago talk about being ridiculously curious.
I like it.
I know I had to go up and tell him afterward that I love that concept because it really, if you, and I think it can be cultivated. You know,
Sure.
if you happen to be somebody who you are that way and you hear this, you could actually go on a mission to find out what am I curious about? Because I learned a long time ago when my kids were little and we were looking at preschool programs for them that all human beings are just naturally curious. They just about something or many things, and so to be curious and then to create a visibility.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Batter up.
I would say two things. One is to follow your interests as best you can, and to trust that they will take you on a path, back to what you said about journalism, Bonnie, the specific thing that you have in mind might not be actually what shows up, but if you have some outcomes, like what is it that you want from your career, and have those in mind. And I would say this even to people our age, to keeping these things in mind, rather than think that it's a done deal. To your point in your book, Caroline, that it's not necessarily a done deal at any point in our career.
Right.
If we keep having the outcomes of whatever we're going to choose in mind, then opportunities will continue to show up that could give you the autonomy, the flexibility, the salary, the skills, the variety, whatever it is that you're looking for in your job. And in your life's passion, if you want to just not say it's a job and it doesn't really end at 5.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would suggest to everyone, again, not just to people who are in school now, but people who are out and cultivating their careers, is to broadcast what you're proud about. So I don't know why, but I never really wore my Delta Zeta sweatshirt anymore, or any IU sweatshirts or hats or anything, until this year. I had a little reunion with my cycling team, and I bought an IU jacket, and I've been wearing it ever since. And do you know what?
Yay! You're wearing the swag.
I have the swag. But you know what? In addition to just loving that crimson and cream,
Mhm.
I love the conversation starter it is. I go places. I was at the theater yesterday, and this lady said, "Hey, I went to Notre Dame."
Oh,
And you know
neat.
what? She didn't even go to IU, but it gave us somewhere to start.
Oh, it was a connection. Oh,
Yeah, it
that's
was.
brilliant.
And again, when I'm on social media, I have on my LinkedIn page that I'm a triathlete, that I was in drum corps, that I went to IU. And it's always a great place to start creating a relationship. No matter if they had the same experience, it gives them an opportunity to share their experience. And I love that.
Oh, the two of you, I could speak with you all day. I thank you so much for your energy. You have just energized me for the rest of the day, and some wonderful, wonderful wisdom and advice. And we have a video coming up soon. So stay tuned for more of Bonnie Wingate and Ashley Tappan, not just on the podcast, but a wonderful video that we're producing next week in Philadelphia. So that will be hitting the social media space in the very near future. But ladies, thank you so much. What a joy. What an honor to have you on. You're doing your alma mater proud. All of Indiana University will be listening. And I thank you so much for sharing your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Would you like to share the Insigniam website, since you work with such an extraordinary company? I think that would be lovely, just to give a little shout out to Insigniam.
Great. www.insigniam.com.
Brilliant, brilliant. And it is a fantastic website, if I do say so myself. So please check it out. Bonnie Wingate, Ashley Tappan, thank you again. Be well, take good care, and I'll see you in person very soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
And I want to thank the listening audience for tuning into Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.